So my name is Jared Casey. I'm the owner of I Am Recovery, and I also am a therapist and marriage family therapist trained, but also work with substance addiction. I've been working in this industry for over 10 years. It's something that I take a lot of pride and passion in. I really enjoy this space and I enjoy seeing people get better and heal. And I really enjoy working with families, especially families that are willing to figure stuff out and try to do the best they can on their side because it's this space, there's a lot of pain and hurt that families experience, and oftentimes they get overlooked and don't get the support they need to heal. So that's something that I just feel passionate about, and I'm grateful to be able to do it. Awesome. So one thing I do like to do before we jump into the topic too heavy is just some questions like what this is kind of maybe new for some of you. It may not be as new for others, but what are some questions you have about maybe anything related to treatment or you, how things work or how things work for anything you might have? Like this is kind of an open forum time. With my time in the industry, I'm probably the right person to ask some of these questions. And if you don't have them, that's okay too. But I'd love to just open that up.
I think for me, mine is literally just like we got used to what like life without her kind of thing, without the chaos kind of thing. And now it's kind of like reintegrating her into life and trying to leave that chaos still behind. How can we still have that peace, and try to like move forward, and try to, when as husband and wives do, we might have disagreements. For me, how do I not go backwards in those conversations? Like, it's I try I and that's my struggle. I struggle like because before when she like was in the depths of like over the winter, like December, like really dealing with the alcohol, everything, I would always throw out, "You're choosing that over me or over our family," kind of thing. And now with her going into recovery, I know she's choosing to be healthier. But for me, like I find myself reverting back to old habits, and so that's where like I have to learn how to not do those kinds of things.
So it sounds like there's an awareness that the old patterns are really strong.
Yeah.
And now maybe you take away the alcohol,
Mm,
but there's still hurt there and there's still pain.
yeah.
And maybe the alcohol was something you could easily blame for the hurt and pain before.
Correct.
And now that that's gone, there's not like something to that's as easy to put it on.
Yeah. And so I have to be a little bit more kind of dialed in with like, okay, what am I really trying to say instead of just pointing fingers at an issue kind of thing. Like, so it's really focused us to have a more, yeah, that's a real focused conversation. Like, what are we really trying to say? And and also not be afraid of like, hey, I might need a break to think about what I'm trying to say, come back to it. And also like we can handle the truth with each other a little bit better. Even though the truth might hurt, it's gonna sting, but at least we know we're being honest and truthful with each other.
Yeah, in the past, maybe you couldn't have those conversations.
Correct.
So just more unsaid things would happen.
I have that internal fear of if I'm too brutally honest, or if I'm not, you know, careful. I don't want to say careful, but like if I'm not mindful of what I say, is that going to push her over the edge? Is that going to raise her stress levels so high to where she's like, you know what, screw it, I'm done. Like I tried, and I'm gonna like, you don't think I'm gonna be successful? Might as well like, you
Yeah,
know,
that's a pretty common thread that a lot of families pull on in early recovery. I would recommend going into when you have time, into our resources and watch the video called The Messy Middle. We
Yeah.
dig into that really deep. But on the short version of that is that you can't control anybody, and you didn't create this.
Mhm.
And there's this not that's not something you can actually do. If she chooses to use that as an excuse to go out and use, that's completely her choice.
Yeah.
But there is also some tenderness right now because you are kind of treading into new territory where you haven't had this version of your wife for years that you
Mhm.
could communicate with openly without hurting a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
And all those onset things, they want to come out and they want to like move forward. And you feel like we can't move forward until we get these things out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that kind of feel like what you're dealing with, or is there
Oh,
more to that?
exactly. Exactly. And so luckily enough, like with I Am Recovery and the therapist that she's working with there, we'll be able to work on things together. And now this is the part where we can work on our relationship together.
So kind of going back to your thoughts there, as you're getting into this relationship space now, where you can communicate a little more openly and fully
Mhm.
with her, um, I do recommend. I mean, first of all, running yourself, but nothing you're going to say or do is going to control whether she uses or not.
Yeah.
So kind of try to put that down. But you can look at, how do I want to show up in this relationship? And am I willing to take the more patient way? Because ideally, you do get to all those things. All those onsets do come out. They do take time, though. And you could create more friction in your marriage or relationship if they come out too fast.
Yeah.
So that's where I take it kind of piece by piece. But I think you already know, like, you do have to come around to those conversations. And if you don't come around to them, it creates more damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe asking yourself, what's the bigger picture for me? What do I really want to have happen in this relationship?
Yeah.
You know,
So
and kind of the other flip side of that is having worked on the other side of it. Um, I think that sometimes family or the client will say they'll manipulate or they'll use their addiction against you.
mhm.
And now that they're getting healthier, they're trying not to be that person. But it doesn't mean that old manipulation isn't still there.
Yeah,
I mean, old habits take a while
it
to
does.
correct.
And so, and that's the thing too, is um me really trying to like put down that thought process of control. And I have to take that step back. I'm like, am I really trying to control, or am I trying to just kind of speak my piece kind of thing? And really at the end of the day, I know I can't control. However, as much as I want to, I want, yeah, I just don't want to go backwards kind of thing.
Um, to my question for you is that how long does it take to really get someone to a point where you can fully see where their issues are? And I still think that there might be some mental health underlying issues like anxiety, depression, whatever that might be, for people who struggle, right? And so at what time point when they're in sobriety can you really detect that? And so you can make a right diagnosis so they can get the help that they need to struggle, to deal with those issues so they don't end up going back using because they are trying to self-medicate.
Yeah, those are really good questions, and I'll do my best to unpack them with the best I can. The first piece that comes to mind is alcohol is very progressive, and it does grow worse over time. And other drugs are too. But one of the differences I see with alcohol, I call it like the long suffering disease, because you can still function fairly normal and still drink for quite a while. And a lot of people pull it off, or they hide it really well, or they can hold down a job, and it just goes and goes and goes, and it goes a long time. Other type drugs, people die much younger. but you do see adult alcoholics. You don't see adult meth addicts or adult heroin addicts. They're dead by then. So like there's this difference where, yeah, it progressively gets worse, but one of the side effects of alcohol is that it can create some wet brain is one thing that can happen. It can create some brain damage, literally. Um, Not always, but that can also take time to heal. So if you're seeing like a crossover, like looks like her mental health has gone down along with this drinking, there could be some wet brain in there. There could be some other issues going on, maybe some instability that she's going to have to work through. But typically within, you know, 30 to 90 days, you can kind of get a clear picture if someone stays off of stuff long enough, if there's some cross stuff going on. I've had people with wet brain where they stumble a lot and they don't get that back for like 3 months or more. So it just depends. I don't necessarily know yet or how to assess that yet. But I think after she finishes residential or gets close to finishing residential care, you'll get a more clear picture of, all right, is this just alcohol or is there some other stuff coming along with for the ride?
How that can be determined, because if she needs additional something to deal with her mental health, diagnosis that maybe not wasn't clear during her usage, right? That we
Yeah.
can address that so she can really succeed. Otherwise, I just feel like she might go back to the same state of anger. And then with, not coping well, she'll just go back to drinking again. So that's our fear. But I'm just really glad that she took the initiative to be at your facility, because she tried this about maybe a couple months ago and left,
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that she'll stick through it. But the pain of loved ones is unbelievable. I just can't tell you. I've never felt so much angst all the time because I worry about my daughter, right? And I just don't know what the future holds. So I've been, Al-Anon's steps are really, really important. And I just saw what Sarah sent in terms of letting go. Those really resonate with me because I've not done some of those things well. And some of those things I'm still really working on. But it's hard to let go of the past and try to think like, what could I have done differently that maybe would have prevented this at this juncture, right? And I can't go there because, like you said, I couldn't have controlled it and I didn't cause it. But so anyway, I'm just trying to work through those things. It's very difficult. It's very painful process. And I feel like I'm really lucky to be here because it's just in my circle of friends, I've been very cautious as to what I say, and it's been a very lonely road for me, except for when I go to Al-Anon. I feel like people can really relate to where I am, and I understand their pain because everybody has pain in different levels or different situations, but we all have that in common.
Sonny, like you like it's weird how things just work, because where you're at right now, I was at when I had to take my wife there. Like the pain was so real, like it hurt. It like just felt like this weight on my chest. Like it hurt. The things that she would say, everything. And you, if the apology and everything that is what we're looking for to try to help with that hurt, most of the time when my wife was intoxicated, she would never after everything calmed down and she would kind of come like the next morning kind of thing. I would never get that apology because she could never remember the things what were said, but we do, because we're coherent. We're kind of what we think as more rational, and what they're saying to us in those moments, she was thinking that she was making sense, but like she was saying it in such a hurtful way, like we may not ever. And that's where, like, I feel like you going to an Al-Anon meeting, I'm terrified to go to one still. I haven't been to one because I'm afraid to open up those pains, those wounds. in front of other people as well. But like, I kind of almost have to come to grips. I feel like I will get like an apology in a way, in a way of like, I'm super sorry for, or I apologize for everything that I've done, everything that I've said. I wasn't in the right state of mind. Will I get, I apologize for what I said this time, or for what I did like on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day kind of thing. I won't get a specific apology. I might get a broad general apology kind of thing. And so that's where like I've said, I have to learn how to accept that and know that this is the new path that we're on. And even still, like that first week of her, it was rough on her. And the second week better, the third week got better, it that like, and you could actually start to see a noticeable difference and on all of those things that you're concerned with, where they can learn to like dig deep into themselves, everything. So it's helped us out tremendously.
So Sonny, and thank you for that feedback, John, and that insight. I think it's super important to see the kind of the wider spectrum of all this. And really, the support is so essential for healing for families and for everyone involved. And I'll second that too, that those things that are said in anger and those things that are said through all that pain, there's usually that's an indication that they hurt so badly, that they're hurting so desperately and they don't know where to put it. And people tend to hurt the people closest to them the most. So a part of that process that when we work with clients is we work through learning how to love themselves. And part of that is forgiving themselves, respecting themselves, and then giving that back to everyone in their circle, everyone around them. And when you start seeing that come your way, that's when you can start having those edge conversations where, hey, I was hurt too. I know you're hurt, but I was also hurt. And have, little morsels, maybe not going for the full buffet, but you're going to build towards that relationship of healing. And as you do that with them, they actually heal more. And then you heal more. And then the past resentments can become something of experience instead of active pain in everyone's life. But it's definitely a real difficult space to be in for a long time. I mean, this is a lifelong battle. But we do hope and we do see that when people move towards that path, their full healing comes through restoring relationships and making peace and living in a more fruitful way. Any thoughts on any of that, Sonny?
No, I think that makes total sense, and that's what we're hoping for. We just want her to heal and have this self-worth, self-respect that she really, all of us need to have, right? And I think she greatly suffered over the years, and I'm just hoping that, with treatment and therapy and, really self-reflection and spirituality, that she can get that. I mean, that's what we're hoping and praying for. What I have learned about alcoholism is that it is a lifelong disease. And so when I, to talk to John about going to Al-Anon, I cried a lot, in the first like 4 or 5 visits. I couldn't even, and I just sat there and just absorbed what other people had, had to share. And, it was just really healing for me to not feel so alone. I don't know what your support system is, John, and your family, but I have wonderful friends, but these are kind of difficult topics to talk about. And our family, I think it's a family problem, and all of us have suffered as a result of, and so we're all kind of guarded, suffering together. And I know that we can work on that so we don't suffer. So I just learned in Al-Anon just last week that, yeah, we can have pain, but that we can choose not to suffer. And that's what I'm trying to work on, because in the past, I think I suffered quite a bit because I let that suffering continue in my life. But the pain, I think, is going to continue. We just need to know how to work on it and trying to heal from it more. But, you know, it's a scary thing that it's a lifelong disease for, you know, for those who become alcoholics, and they really need to work it, right? And we need to support them, but not to return back to the behavior that we engaged in because it just wasn't working. Another thing is that, you know, I lived in insanity, and that was my norm. I had no idea, and I need to find sanity, and those steps of letting go, I think, helps me to try to get there. Although I feel really guilty saying I'm gonna let go because, you know, I feel like I need to hold on. I should never give up, but I need to let go because I can't control it, right?
No, Sonny, like I am in that same exact spot, like that peace, and this is where you're gonna have it, like that insanity where it's like you don't know what every day is gonna bring to you. It's is it gonna be a good day for them? Is it gonna be a bad day? Like, and that's what I was fighting with my wife, and um, you know, my girls, everything. Luckily, like my girls are luckily enough older, um, but this while she was gone, we were able to like have that establishment. We were able to have peace. Like that first few nights, it was weird. Like this hole, like there was a hole in our house, kind of thing. Just because my wife is a personality larger than life, and when she was gone, that was gone. That left too, and now we were able to like sleep. We were able to have like we didn't have to have that stress of we knew where she was at. We knew where she was safe. We knew, you know, and it's a hard thing. I'm sure they have everyone said it to you. No news is good news, and sometimes that is the hardest statement to take, and because you're always wondering. Um, but it's the actual truth. No news is good news from them. Um, and it's like, and now we can slowly integrate, and we can work on rebuilding, and it's such a like, and now that she wants it, she sees it, our relationship is so much better, and you know, and it's one day at a time, one situation at a time. It's um you know, and everything, her relationship with our daughters is improving. She's including them in everything. um and does she openly say like, oh, I'm having a really hard day today, kind of thing? No, but I think like if she has to go run errands, she tries to take one of them with her. You know, that's her safety, kind of thing. Because before she would just take off and we wouldn't hear from her for hours, and now it's like, hey, do you want to go with me, or I need you to come with me, kind of thing. And so, you know, my girls have caught on to that, and so now they're more open to going and to making sure, you know, because obviously she's not going to go to a bar with my girls in the car, kind of thing. So it's that safety net for her, and um I'm just super proud of her, and you'll get to that point too of feeling that.
That's great. I'm so glad that it's worked so well for your wife. Yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
So there's
And
there's a space that we talk about quite a bit, and we look at the spiritual aspect, and that's I mean, the main topic I want to bring in tonight anyway, but I think it's a good time to bring it in. When someone connects with their spirituality, they start to heal in every way. And they start to move towards purpose, must move towards a better life, drugs and alcohol take purpose away, they take life away, and they create a void in people that they can't fill. So they try to stuff everything they can in there to fill an emptiness. You know, we look at it as almost like magic. They're trying to take a magic pill to feel better and fill that void. So when they start to heal, you pull all this junk out and you put back spiritual light, connection, love, peace, hope, all those good things. That becomes a new path. And if you can be on that path with them, if you're doing your own work, and I believe both of you are, just the brief time I've met you and got to meet and see what kind of people you are, you can kind of match on that path and support each other in that direction. It doesn't mean that you're going to be at the same speed or pace. I know each person kind of measures that differently, but if you can support that in yourself and see that in them, that can be the new way to heal. And you look at the AA research, they've gone through all their data and they've come and said, like, in nearly every case of sustained recovery from alcohol has been through someone connecting with their spirituality and feeding that connection. So if there's anything that I see that works, that really, really works, is fostering those kind of thoughts and those kind of feelings and those kind of connections. Now that may look a little different than religion, and sometimes they cross over, but for a lot of clients, they have some religious bias or feel like some of the religious pieces have not been like fulfilling for them. And for some people, it's the opposite. Like they need their religion to feel good. So as a family member, it may not look like what you want it to look like. And I don't know what you all want it to look like. I'm just saying that as an example. But if you can see, like, all right, they're doing something spiritual, they're doing something good, and try to feed that or honor that, even if it doesn't look like your exact version of it, that's a really good indication that they're on the long-term track to healing, from what I've observed. And I'd love to hear your thoughts from this piece as well.
I'll go real quick. No, I see that, learning more about this. Hey, addiction doesn't care what religion you are. It doesn't care what anything. But like you said, the spirituality, however that is, whether it's through a meditation. Honestly, one of the best things that the girls go up and do is that cold plunge. Like they go do these cold plunges and it like forces their brain to like work on something way harder and like kind of break that cycle of like I don't know, it just like retrains their brain somehow. But just the spirituality, it helps them see other things in a different way, instead of just turning and running. And because everybody has, a lot of people have a negative connotation with the spirituality because it's tied to religion. But seeing this side of things, there is a higher power, there is something greater than us out there. And it's important for all of us, no matter who we are, to be somehow connected to that. So
thank you, John. Sunny, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share on this topic?
Yeah, I totally, that's why I love the 12-step. I think, spiritual power, is really a critical component to healing and fighting addiction. When you have that belief, I think that really gives you a lot of comfort and hope. The problem that we've had is that she thinks my religion, which she was raised in, she's very anti and very upset. And I hope that we can try to reconcile that. As she became an adult, I did not force that on her, but she has a lot of resentment that she was raised, in the belief that we've taught her and the church that we attended. So there's a lot of healing, I think, that requires there. I believe in freedom to choose what you want to believe in terms of God and higher power. And I leave that up to her. I just hope that she can see that we're not forcing anything that we believe on her, that she finds that journey and that we can get, be respectful of each other's beliefs. I hope that she really sees that and is very tolerant, because she thinks the doctrine that I believe in is just completely wrong. And that's been really rough in the last year. It's just, we've never had that issue before, but it just came up and it has really overtaken our family, and there's tremendous amount of, I think, hurt as a result. And we just need to, again, be respectful of each other's belief system, right? Even though it could be different, but that at the end that we believe in higher power who's going to help us. And I totally believe in that. And I know that she believes in it. So hopefully we can work together on that. But no, what the 12 step of AA and Al-Anon is based on, I believe in that wholeheartedly. Without higher power and faith and the hope that we have in that, I don't think we can overcome this problem.
So I want to validate that experience. I see that a lot with families, where when someone's in their addiction or in their mental health crisis, religion can be something that they use as a tool to be frustrated around. Sometimes it's just mad at God, period. Sometimes it's mad at, or whatever you can come up with, any reason. And essentially, when someone's lost kind of their way or they've lost their purpose in life, they start looking at life from a victim lens. We call it like speaking victimese. They that's just the way they kind of see the world, is speaking from a victim way. And anyone who wants to fight with them or defend their point just further proves that they're a victim. So we work a lot on letting go of the victim mindset and taking ownership of your life. Own yourself 100% and stop pointing the finger at people in your life. And as they do that, some of those past fights and arguments, all the air is going to come out of them, because they're pointless and there's no validation in them. If you're owning your whole life, you can't blame a religion, you can't blame a politician, you can't blame the weatherman. You have to just live your life and choose to empower yourself from there. Now that's kind of phase one of this, but I want to talk about one other piece that can help you both and myself in healing from that trauma that we suffer. The worry, like I think you were saying, John, like we slept better when, we sleep better when we know she goes with someone to the store, or we feel better. Or, Sonny, what you're saying, you worry all the time. There's a lot of worry. Like, how's this going to work out? She's got a 7-year-old son. Like, how are we going to manage this? There's a space where we can give over a lot of that worry and anxiety to our higher power, and not just give our thoughts, but give that pain over. For me, I will often visualize like an altar that I put it all on. So I'm just going to put all my pain, all my suffering, all these struggles, and I do this with my clients and for my clients, because a lot of their pain is hard on me too. So I'll take that and I'll say, I'm going to visualize putting this on this altar. And I'll say a prayer and say, hey, God, Heavenly Father, higher power, will you please take this pain and transmute it into peace, love, hope, happiness, something good. Don't take it away, because it's material. There's a lot here, but transmute it and help me understand what I can do with it. Then I ask my higher power to give it back to myself and others. So when I have that pain coming my way, I can filter it and give it back, instead of letting it fester and build up and create more anxiety in myself and in my relationships. Does that resonate with either of you, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Totally. Well, what helped me is, like, I haven't done it like writing anything for a very long time. But it's almost like a daily journal, but a letter to her. you know, at first, some of the letters were kind of harsh a little bit. I had to get that out. And then as soon but it quickly turned to uh love and to encourage her kind of thing. You're doing this for the right reason. Not only are you doing it, do I feel like you're doing it for us, but you're doing it for you. Whether or not we could end up in 10 years divorced, whatever. But as long as she's healthy for her and for, you know, our kids and potential grandkids, all these things, that's all that matters now, you know, and you know, that helped me. That helped me kind of connect in a spiritual aspect with her. And also releasing that here I need to it's hard to verbalize and get it out, and I don't want my girls to hear me screaming and yelling and all this stuff. So writing was you know, I was like, oh, I got 10 minutes, I can write a quick letter. It turned into 3 pages of everything, and I was able to get it out and able to we were able to go see her on Sundays, and I was able to give her those, and she was able to read them and process them, and you know, it was a good, safe way for us to come back to each other.
It's awesome, John. Thank you for sharing.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking about what you said about transmuted. Is there a detachment process there too?
Well, the detachment process for me is that I'm no longer responsible to hold all that pain. And I'm trusting it to someone like my God or an angel or whomever is a higher power to me to handhold with me. Because as long as I'm trying to hold it all, I'm not capable of managing it without feeling a high level of stress and lots of anxiety and depression. That's how my body operates. But as soon as I detach myself from it and hand it over to that kind of a source, I can sleep soundly because I know that my attachment to my loved one is secure and going to a good place. And then I trust my higher power can give that back to me in a usable form. And it's really cool. I had an experience even yesterday, or it might have been 2 days ago, where it was just a really, really heavy, heavy day, really heavy, one of my heaviest days. And I just felt so much love, more love than I could ever conjure myself. But it was just like a burning ball that I was just could just give and share. And I had more than enough. My cup was over full. So I was in this feeling where there's so much stress, anxiety, pain, suffering, sadness, and I was just handing out cups of love to everybody. And that's not something I can do, but I can do it through transmutation. Do you have additional thoughts on that?
No, I think that sounds really, really great. I need to practice that. I've been under stress for so long, right? To John's point, when she went to on Tuesday, I literally that night, I felt so much freedom because I thought, okay, well, I hope she stays, but she's there tonight, right? And I just felt so liberated because, uh, it's the first time I felt like that in a long time.
Yeah.
When she was home and maybe doing okay in one day, but not so well in others, I never knew what was coming for that day. And I always felt angst and just unsettled feeling. Whereas, that night I felt really, really at peace. And then the next day I felt like it was just, I'm at a different place. So I'm hoping that I can keep up that feeling. But what do I do if she doesn't succeed? How do I maintain that detachment with hope and wanting her to do better, but at the end of the day, I can't control that, right? So again, is something that I think mindfully work on. So when things go well, that would be awesome. If things don't go well in the future, how do I maintain the concepts that we're learning here? you know, that's my thought. So I have to practice, I guess, here and now, right?
Yeah, you couldn't say it better. And I like the word practice because it is a practice. You know, you're not going to do it perfectly or well right away. But if you put focus energy like John did with his journal, and you put that into even a small slice of habit, that you can start finding the way to regulate this angst and this energy. That energy, when you say, let's just assume she doesn't do well. I'm not going to say that happens, but when she comes to you and she's not doing well, and all you have is angst, that will perpetuate the problem. But if all you have is love, that will create a space for healing in your relationship. And how much better will your life be if you get to carry around love majority of the time versus angst? So, you know, you're all connected. So if she's not ready now, when she comes to you later and you're in a place of love, she'll definitely be more ready in that kind of space. But angst creates a lot of other issues that makes it really difficult to heal. So it's a gift you give yourself, truly. And for me, for example, when I've been practicing this long enough, the work I do doesn't drain me anymore. When I first started doing it, it was very draining. And my home life doesn't drain me. I can use this tool through practice that it gives me fuel. So if you have all this angst and you can turn that into fuel that you can burn into love, wow, you've got a big reservoir. And you can use that very, very efficiently and effectively for the rest of your life if you learn that and practice it. John, what are your feelings?
No, it's very true. Like, um, the anxiety that I was feeling when she was home before she left, and you know, I would only get maybe a couple hours of sleep a night, kind of thing. And now I actually get sleep and I'm rested. I feel like I don't need a nap, kind of thing, when I get home from work, kind of thing, and hit the wall at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. But it's letting go, like, as soon as I was able to like let that go through those letters to her, my hugs that I gave my girls every night got a little bit sweeter because I didn't have these walls up. I didn't have the anxiety. When we got to see Christy on those Sundays, our hugs with her got sweeter. They meant so much more, and that, Zenia, I could probably say that for you too. Like, as in the next few days, the hugs you'll give your grandson, they'll get sweeter. They will get, even with him too, you will feel it from him too. And as you reassure him that he's loved, everything, those hugs, everything will just get so much better. And like that's what carried me. My girls would just come up and just hug me out of like nowhere. And that it just meant everything to me. So yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Well, I want to thank you both. It's been a very fulfilling hour for me as well. I've enjoyed it. And I've had one final thought. You both have said let go several times, and there's usually a follow-up to that. Let go and let God. We can let go of what we can control, and then we can let God in to help with the rest. And that's really that sweet spot of peace. And along those lines, we can kind of let our worries be a little bit more in a controlled way instead of all the time. When we set aside that space to let our higher power work through us. Any last thoughts or questions either of you have before we wrap up?
No, thank you so much. I think you gave a lot of wisdom and wonderful thoughts for us to think about and practice in our lives, and I appreciate that.
Last thing, one thing that's helping me kind of understand where like my wife, the addict, is coming from. There's a podcast up here in Utah, put on by a guy named Casey Scott. It's called Project Recovery. It has helped me kind of understand and try to see things in a different light. And also has helped me understand what I can do on my end as well to help not cause more stress and actually push in a way to relapse in a way. But yeah, it's called Project Recovery. Awesome podcast. And it lets me know, like, the more distance we get from this, we can have like a fun life. We can do a lot of different things, and we can have a good functioning relationship. We just have to have some safeguards in place, and so yeah, I suggest listening to that. That's helped me out a lot lately.
I'll make a book recommendation for you both too, that's lined up with the topic tonight. It's called The Spirituality of Imperfection. But it's one of the most, it's basically a parables book pulled from lots of different spiritual practices throughout time. And it's by Ernest Kurtz and Catherine Ketchum. But it's one of my favorite books of all time, especially in this recovery space. And it pulls from a lot of the roots of AA, a lot of roots from every possible spiritual angle you can take. And that book is like my Bible in recovery for how to manage this space. So if you want to do a deep dive into the spirituality of recovery and just mental health, I highly recommend that book, and the follow-up book that you can read after is called Experiencing Spirituality. But I'd start with The Spirituality of Imperfection.